merry meet. So, since Christmas is approaching, I wanted to discuss a topic that I've heard a lot of pagans talk about. That they might have a problem with celebrating Christmas, as it is a holiday that is part of another religion, and a religion that's often hostile to theirs. And as such, it can often be difficult to celebrate Yule, which are of course the pagan equivalent. So, really the topic I wanted to discuss were how similar really the Christmas celebration is, or the core idea of Christmas, to the pagan concept, and how much of the traditional Christmas celebration which are actually pagan in origin, and how then actually Christmas can easily be seen as a pagan celebration if you don't feel like or have the option to celebrate Yule. Now, of course, I am not discussing this from all the point of view of all pagan faiths. I am a neo-pagan. I'm not Wiccan, but I'm Wiccanish. So of course there are pagan faiths that what I'm saying now will not apply whatsoever. So if so, then just ignore what I'm saying. But from a neo-pagan, Wiccanish sort of view, I think that Christmas celebration can definitely be a spiritual celebration also for us. Now, what do we as Wiccans and Wiccanish people celebrate at Yule? We celebrate the rebirth of the sun. This comes from a lot of pagan religions that had a sun celebration around the time of the 20 something of December. And generally what we celebrate is that the goddess gives birth to the child of promise, the god. And it is the goddess in the aspect of the mother giving birth, the woman in her sacred capacity to give life, and the god in his aspect as the child of promise, the prophesied child. And of course, it is also the aspect of the sun being reborn. Now, what is the general Christmas celebration? It celebrates a woman who is in the aspect of the mother, gives birth to the Son of God. This is very, very similar. And even that part with the David star, a star shining so bright that it's almost day, that can easily be a metaphor for the sun being reborn. And in fact, now from a Christian point of view, of course, they have a very big difference between their God and the pagan gods. But from a pagan point of view, Jehovah and Jesus are just other names, other faces of the God. They are gods. So, and Maria is the goddess, the mother of God. So, and how do people celebrate Christmas? There's a lot of lighting of candles, which of course then would symbolize the return of light. Like, I don't know if you Americans have this tradition, but in Norway it's traditional to the Sundays that the four I can't talk today. The 4 Sundays leading up to Christmas, we light a candle and say basically a prayer over it. It's a prayer about waiting, and very much that can be seen as a pagan ritual, because you light a candle which symbolizes light, and a flame which symbolizes the god, and you talk about waiting. And there's always a lot of lights going on. And like, listen to some of the Christmas songs. they, if you just change out the name Jesus, how are they different than how we celebrate the birth of the God? Like one Christmas song which I now don't remember the name of, but it doesn't use the name Jesus that much. One chapter basically is the winds of change rides the seven seas. Um, no, a silent wish rides the seven seas. The winds of change rustles in the trees. And it brings a brand new hope. This come um, to pass when a child is born. I don't remember it completely, but basically, how doesn't this fit with the pagan concept of the goddess giving birth to the god? So I think that as a pagan, often you have to look at the holidays that your family is practicing, or the people around you. I'm not from a Christian family, but we celebrate Christmas anyway, and then see the pagan celebrations in it. Now, as for other things, the feast meal that is the way we do it in Norway is that on Christmas Eve the family gets together, we wear our Sunday best, and a big meal is prepared, and it's the best food we have. So it varies from part of the nation to part of the nation. Here in Bergen they have something named pinnekjøtt, which is basically steamed cheap ribs. In the part of the nation that I'm from, we usually have a steak made out of pork, and for the north they usually have fish. Anyway, we have a feast day meal. This is very similar to a lot of pagan cultures where on such holidays people got together and they ate. It is a meal in celebration of the gods. It's a meal celebrating the birth of the sun, the birth of the god, and it also celebrates that the sun has turned, and we will know that the times are now going towards summer. And the Christmas tree, that's a pagan tradition. In fact, early Christians condemned the use of trees which were part of Roman celebration. And the giving of gifts is also actually a pagan tradition, that for these feast days gifts were given to loved ones. So there's so much of Christmas which comes from paganism. And in fact, we are pretty sure that Jesus was not born on the 25th of December. Because if you look at history and the things that are mentioned that happened during his birth, various scholars argue. Some say he was born somewhere in September, some say he was born in July. Nobody is completely sure, but what most scholars can agree on, it was not in December. However, the holiday was put to the winter solstice because it was so difficult to get the pagan populations to give up their holiday. So basically, Christmas celebrates the birth of a child of promise, a god-child that will eventually evolve into the sacrificial king who will save humanity by sacrificing his life. This is very similar to the pagan idea that the goddess gives birth to the god, who will eventually be sacrificed to fertilize the land. And there are various myths around various forms of various um, historical societies that is similar to this. So, yeah, I think that I would actually say that Christmas is one of those holidays that have most of paganism in it. So while you might not call your God by the name Jehovah or Jesus, often it's just the name. Like when I was part of a coven, the ritual that we used to celebrate Yule or something like that, we had 4 people who were no 5 actually. We had 5 people who played the roles of the elements, and one that played the role of a seeker. And the seeker will go to each person representing an element. This was after the circle was cast, and he or she would say, I have wandered far, and I am looking for the child of promise. Have you heard of him? I don't remember the words exactly, but basically. And the person playing the element would say, no, I haven't. He's not within my kingdom, but I will help you search. And so they went all through it until they came to Spirit, and Spirit would then say that yes, he or she had heard of it, that the goddess had given birth to the god anew. How is this that much different than the idea of the 3 wise men searching for Jesus? So yeah, my advice would be that if you're uncomfortable with celebrating Christmas, just in your head exchange the name Jesus for whatever God you are worshipping, or just the God, and you are actually part of a pagan celebration. It celebrates the birth of a divine child, which is a very pagan concept. And in fact, Jesus sort of perfectly represents the idea of the God. If you look at the typical Wiccan view, that we have a deity that starts as a promised child, who grows into manhood, and then is sacrificed for the good of the land. That is exactly the story of Jesus. So you don't need to look that hard to find these similarities. So yeah. Now I'm lucky. I can celebrate Yule all I want. I have a family that completely supports my faith. But I still try to find the pagan connections in the things I do. And I think it's important to not just being ritual when you do the distinct pagan rituals, but look at the things around you, the holidays, the celebrations, the rituals of everyday life around you, and see how does this connect to my faith. Find the magic, find the divinity in what you do around you, and that way you can live a ritual. So yeah, I just wanted to make a little video about that, since I know that a lot of pagans have this problem. I really like Christmas songs, I really love Christmas, and to me that is a celebration of the goddess giving birth to the god, and by that continuing the cycle that is in each year, in each day, in each microcosmos. The goddess and the god dance their eternal dance of death and rebirth. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed this video. have a great day, Merry Christmas, have a great Jule, and blessed be.